everyone. Today is a very long overdue demonstration on how I groom my brows and how I do my brows. And I'm going to share specific products that I use, but let me be very clear. If you find some good products that work for you, whether they're drugstore or high-end, who makes them really doesn't matter to achieve the brow look that I like. Now, as far as my brows go, while the hair on the top of my head appears to be thinning at a fairly rapid rate, don't let the volume fool you. This is all Dyson Airwrap round brushing, and I will link to that video if it's already up. The hair on my face, growing no problem. Sometimes in places I don't want it to grow. So my eyebrows have always been pretty healthy, but I did pluck them a lot when I was younger, and as you can see, the tail end really doesn't grow in, it doesn't grow back. So be very, very careful of the over plucking. So what I thought I would do is walk you through the steps on what I do to groom them on a day-to-day, well, more like month-to-month basis, and then I'm going to demonstrate a couple ways on how I do my brows. So first and foremost, I don't do this all the time. I do this maybe every month or a couple of months, just depending on how the hair grows. I will trim my brows. Let me put my hair out of my face. And if you're curious as to what makeup is already on me, that is all listed down in the description box. It's basically everything except eyeshadow. This is a look. Okay. So at first glance, my brows look pretty good, but they can be better. Let me show you what I'm talking about. First, you're gonna need some kind of spoolie. Every eyeshadow brush set in the world has something like this in it. You can buy the plastic ones on Amazon. You can get them at the drugstore. You can spend a ton of money, whatever. Get one of these things. You can even use an old mascara wand, just clean it off from mascara. And what I like to do is brush my brows straight down. Okay, I've tried to zoom in a little bit more so you can really see what I'm talking about. So I'm brushing my brow straight down, and you can see where the brow kind of naturally ends and then where the hairs are going far too long. So what I do is get a tiny little scissors. I think these are from Revlon. They were in the nail care section, I believe. It's just something small. I used to do it with like a full-size pair of scissors. I don't recommend that. Then you just cut whatever is hanging past kind of the natural end of your eyebrow. So there is the one side, but you are not done. Then you brush it straight up. And by this point, you probably have gotten rid of most of the strays. It looks to me actually that this brow looks great. So we're gonna leave it alone. Let's see the other side. Because as we know, eyebrows are not sisters. Sometimes they're not even cousins. They might be step siblings. They're in the same family, but they are by no means actually blood related. Okay, so we comb it down. So this one grows longer, and I'm gonna do the same thing. And if you're a little concerned about cutting too much, then leave a little bit longer. Make sure you don't cut off the tips of your eyelashes. You can see there's a good, I'm trying to catch it, but I can't. There's a good amount of hair that I just cut off. And then you take your spoolie and you brush it straight up. And I'm gonna leave it alone. There are a couple little stragglers at the end here, but I think we're good. Couple other grooming tips. Of course, I tweeze on a regular basis. I had my eyebrows professionally done, well, it was definitely pre-COVID, so it's been a while. So once you get a good shape, I find it's pretty easy to maintain at home. I'm not saying you shouldn't go get your brows done. That's great. I just find I don't really need it. Maybe once every few years, I'll get a professional wax done, and then I can maintain for a few years. So I tweeze pretty much every morning, and my tweezer is the slant-tipped Tweezerman. It doesn't have to be bright pink, but this is the one that I like. But what I noticed, I thought, oh my gosh, why am I seeing crow's feet when I just had Botox done here? Yes, this is Botox. There are fine, very fine little baby hairs growing on the sides. A lot of us don't notice that. So my advice to you is get a small facial razor. I personally like the ones called the Tinkle. Yes, that's what they're called. With no makeup on a clean face, just scrape the fuzz off. You will see a huge difference. The crow's feet you thought you had, suddenly gone. It's those little baby hairs, and when you put on foundation and powder and all that, it catches in there, it accentuates it, it makes it look like you have more wrinkles than you really do. So a lot of us forget to remember the sides over here. Okay, so we have Groom brows, and this I don't do very often, maybe once a quarter or so. But now onto the everyday look. There's two ways that I like to do my brows. More traditionally, I like to use a brow pencil. This gives me a softer brow look. I can do it really quickly. It's the method that I'm most familiar with. If I want a more microbladed look, and these are not microbladed, I use a brow marker. That's not a brow marker. These are brow markers. And I will walk you through both sides, and down in the description box, I'm gonna list my current favorite pencils and brow markers. I have something for everyone in every budget. Let's start with the pencil. So again, I personally love a pencil that has a spoolie on it, and I like to brush my brush hairs in the front, or in the inner part, I should say, straight up. And then as you move across the eye, you start more of a 45-degree angle. And then I take my pencil, and this I'm using the shade light brown. I'll trace lightly underneath. Make sure I have a nice line, and then I'll go on the top, and I'll gently, I'm holding the pencil sideways. Like, I'm not doing tip straight on. I'm using the side of the pencil so it's a softer look, going in light strokes across the top, and basically drawing the outline of my brow. Now, as far as where I stop it, at this point, I just kind of eyeball it, literally, but you can do the trick where you line the pencil to the side of your nose, the outside corner of your eye, and that's generally where you stop it. Make a little dot. So now I have the top drawn in, I have the bottom drawn in, and then I fill in. Making sure that I get the inner corner going, flicking straight up. And again, as I move through the brow, I start angling it pretty much horizontal at this point. From there, and I feel like this is key, there's a couple of things. First, you can just take your spoolie and run it through. Kind of distributes the pencil and makes it a little bit softer. You can also comb down if you want to make sure that you filled in the bald spots at the top, so let's do that. I don't always do that, but you can see it's a little sparse there, so I'm going to fill in here a little bit. Okay. Again, brush it through. And then you're going to want to hold it in place. If I don't use a brow gel, they go all over the place. Here's where we get into personal preference. You can use a clear brow gel, you can use a tinted brow gel. I personally prefer a tinted brow gel. I feel like, especially when I use a blonder or lighter brow gel, it softens my brows because this is not my natural color, but this is. So I want them to match a little bit more. For years and years and years, my holy grail was the NYX brow mascara, but I have to specify which one. The tinted brow mascara, and I have it, I believe it's called Blonde. Yes. So this is what I've been using for years. I've recently started using the e.l.f. Wow Brow in the shade Taupe. That works really well. Also, I really like the Kosas Air Brow. This is all just, oh, what do I feel like using today? I think this is in the shade Blonde. And more recently, I added a new NYX one. This is the Thick It Stick It in the shade Taupe. So that's what I'm gonna use today over here. This is a lot more stronger hold than the original NYX brow mascara. And I find as I get older, my brows want to move even more. So I make sure I take the excess off. I just wipe it off on the tip of the container. Reasons I don't understand, there's always some brow hairs in here. And then I like to do 2 coats. I do a really light coat, just really quickly brushing the hairs in the direction that I want them to go. And I always do this before I do my eyeshadow. Why? Because can you see? I don't know if it'll show up on camera. Sorry for the finger. I got some on my face. We can deal with that later. To get that laminated look, I will make sure there's no excess, and then I will push it. See how I'm pushing those brows? And basically laminating it against my skin. This is the Pencil and Thick It Tinted Brow Mascara. It's not a huge difference from here, but it's a nicely groomed one. Now on this side, we're gonna use a brow marker. So let me brush. This is a little bit different because it's a more of a microbladed look. You can't get that soft diffused look. So make sure you get the right color. I started with the Milani Weekend Brow. This is a good one for beginners because it's not very pigmented, so you can mess up a little bit and it's not gonna be as obvious. Another one that was just sent to me that is very similar in concept is the Physicians Formula Butter Micro Brow Pen. Also very soft, not a lot of pigment. Let me show you what I mean. You can't even, like, I can draw all over here. Okay, now it's finally starting to show up. But I like a kind of a stronger brow when I'm doing the brow marker. So I switched over to the NYX Lift and Snatch. I feel like this leaves a lot more pigment on the skin. And I go back and forth between the colors. So when I want not as strong of a brow, I know this is a little bit of an oxymoron, but I still want that microbladed look, I go with taupe. And I think that will work with almost every hair color. When I want a stronger brow, I will go with ash brown. And if I really want to be extra, I will do taupe in the inner corner and ash brown on the outer corner because I need more pigment out here. I'm drawing in more. So the difference is with this, you don't outline your brows. You just start flicking hair. So I'm gonna do the extra version for you. So I'm using taupe, the lighter color, in the inner corner. And here you're mimicking brow hairs. So flick in the direction that you want there to be brow hairs. There are also two schools of thought in the order in which you do this. Some people put on the brow gel first to get the brows in place and then fill in with the marker. There's no wrong way to do this. So feathered in. Because the tail of my brow is far thinner and needs a lot more work, I'll go in with a darker shade. And again, we're just flicking. First, I'm just going over where I already have brow hair and just kind of darkening it up. And now I'm going outside the line, so to speak, and just gradually adding lots of little hairs. I also know that when I put on my brow gel, I'm going to push those up, the actual hair, so it's going to blend in a little bit better. And I may go back and add more. There you go. For consistency, as far as color, I'm going to stick with the stick it, what a name. There are definitely more steps involved, I'd say, with the brow marker if you want it just so. My brows are clearly two different shapes. They don't match up. It's fine. I mean, it's fine. I am gonna go back in with the ash brown and just kind of darken this up a little bit. And because it is a little bit harsher, I am gonna go back in with a spoolie. I have 10 of them, okay. With my spoolie, and I'm just gonna quickly brush it through. So there you have it, 2 different ways of doing your brows. Pick whichever method you're more comfortable with. This is the pencil side, this is the marker side. I enjoy them both. I'm curious to hear from you. Which method do you personally prefer on yourself? And which of these do you like better on my face? I'm just curious. It's not gonna sway which method I use, but I am always curious what you're thinking. Just a reminder, everything that I've used, plus all my suggestions for other brow pencils and brow markers and all those things are down in the description box. I hope that this was helpful. If I didn't cover something that you really want an answer to, do not hesitate. Type it down in the comments and I will do my best to help you out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope this was helpful. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you'll share something with us in the comments and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.